Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining me. I'm so pleased to see some of your names. I know some of you, and welcome to the new folk. So today, what we're going to take a look at, I'm going to share some screens with you. All right, make that real large. What we're going to do is talk about eliminating pesky joint pain on stairs and hills. So when you look at the figure to the right, you'll see red around the ankle, the knee, the hip, but there could equally be red around the neck, because what I see are poor ergonomics, poor use of the body, and that's what we're focusing on today. Staying active is essential to healthy living. You know that. That's why you're here. Underlying that is using efficient biomechanics, walking smart for lifelong legs. So I'm going to be sharing some of the exercises from our program, Dynamic Walking for Lifelong Legs. First, what I'd like to do is to let you see some videos so that we kind of understand what it is we're talking about here. Here's a video of someone hiking. Now, when you first look at it, it may look like a very jaunty walk. There's nothing really the matter with it. But that's not the way I see it. I see this figure straying right to left a lot. And I also see that the left foot, and you can see it right there, the left foot is falling to the inside. So that's called pronation. That puts a strain on the foot, the knee, the hip, and eventually the rest of the torso. Let's watch a little more. There's a lot of bounce in this walk, a lot of up and down. You don't really need that much bounce and extra compression on all of your joints. So let me show you an option for that, a way to, when we're young, our bodies can handle that, but over time, this is what we're talking about, repetitive stress injuries that over time eventually erode the joints. We'll take a look at another one. This would be my suggestion instead. Open it up real wide so you can see it. So what I'm going to do is to lean forward from the ankles and begin walking. I'm staying at a fairly consistent angle in relationship to the hill. And if you stop the walk at any point, I'm going to come back here. The knee is over the ankle. and the weight is traveling right over that perpendicular line. Let's see it again. There it is. It's not too long a stride. So you see one long line from the head all the way down to the heel. And you see this perpendicular line here. You also see that I am not using my arms and shoulders in any way. In fact, I'm allowing them to swing. And that is another aspect of the dynamic walking pattern, which is the leg swing forward. From that push off of the back foot, the hip is relaxed, the leg swings forward, the arms swing, and basically you are rolling up the hill. Your foot is conceived of as not flat, but curved like the base of a rocking horse. So you're rolling from heel to toe up the hill. Let's take a look at the downhill and analyze this. Watching a quadruped like a horse go downhill, you see high hip, low hip, high hip, low hip. And that's what you're seeing here. Here's high hip, low hip, low hip. And I'm going to teach you that. We're going to work on that on screen today. High hip, low hip. The arms are swinging and relaxed. Now, I love doing this, so I get a little jaunty with it. Yeah. There you are. Let's see this in real time. Here is the uphill again. Remember those aspects I told you about. See if you can find those again. Refresh your memory. And the downhill stride is very different. High hip, low hip. The whole upper body is relaxed and you're using your strong legs to do what they are intended to do. Good. I'm going to show you one more, and then we're going to go over these section by section so that you have a good sense of what we're talking about. Here you're going to see, again, the high hip, low hip. So here we go. High hip, low hip, high hip, low hip, high hip, low hip. And on the uphill, you're going to see a consistent lean, same as up the hill as up the stairs. One long line. And then the knee is going to be when the foot comes down. Can't see it so much there, but the knee is over the ankle. And there you go. It's very smooth. There's no up and down bounce as you saw in the first hiker. No effort in the arms. Oop, she changed her mind. Oh, maybe she wants to show us something else. And high hip, low hip. This is on the other side. Good. Let's analyze these because these are important to understand. But first, actually, eliminate that. First, I'm going to invite you to get a yoga block or some books of perhaps this thickness for the first exercise we're going to do. High hip, low hip. Now, if you have a chair or something that you would like to use for a little bit of support, that's fine. So here you have your yoga mat or your books, and you're going to stand on it, and you're going to let one hip drop down. Let me see if I take this off. And I think you can see my hips just a little bit better. High hip, low hip. The hip drops, not the whole rest of the body. It's not a lateral. You've stabilized with your strong leg. You still have your alignment, but the hip is able to relax. It would be the same on the other side. It's not jutting out to the side. The hip is not. It's stabilized, and that's part of stabilizing your core strength, but you are allowing that leg to drop down. Now let's take a look at the foot. The foot is relaxed. The ankle is relaxed. There's no effort there. And how about the turnout? There is a slight turnout naturally of the hips. If you were lying in bed, your feet would probably not be like this. They might be at an angle or more. And ideally, you want that turnout to match side to side. So here's the natural turnout. And then I lower and let the foot touch. Okay, let's try that on the other side. You're on either a yoga block or some books. And this is called high hip, low hip. High hip, low hip. Just allowing the leg to relax, natural turnout, and the ankles relaxed too. There's another way that we can practice this. I'd like you to stand with your feet apart, hands on your thighs, back straight. So you're looking about 5 feet ahead of you. And you're going to lift a heel and a hip. Lift a heel and a hip. Just to have a sense of that connection is exactly what we put on the block. And the other side. Good. Now, if you can leave your heel down, just lift the hip. Just lift the hip. It's a new movement for many people to isolate that. And it may be easier on one side than the other. Good. And then you can eventually stand up a little with it. Bring your feet a little closer. This is the basis of a familiar move in a lot of Latin dance. So the upper body does not get involved at all. The upper torso is still, and you are isolating the hip movement. Good. There's another exercise I'd like you to try. And that's simply a calf stretch. So when I went up those hills, I was at an angle, and sometimes those hills were actually pretty high. So instead of not having that ability and having to lift and lower my leg, I was able to stretch out and use the full range of the calf stretch to go up the hill. You understand? In other words, as my foot came through, as my foot and heel landed, and I rolled heel, midfoot, forefoot, I was able then to use the full stretch of the calf. So that is something you want to develop also. Otherwise, if I didn't have that, I'd be going up the hill. Okay? So let's analyze how we use what we do exactly in the up and down hills and stairs in order to use the best biomechanics. One is the high hip, low hip that I've just showed you. You're leaning forward at the hips and you're lifting one hip and then the other. You're keeping your torso in the middle. The torso is not turning side to side. So preparing to descend, let's look at the different activities here. The first is the hip hang. There's a natural turnout at the hip and leg. And standing tall using a handrail, you can use your eyes to scan the steps below so you're not crouched over or worried about tripping or falling. You're standing on one leg and letting the other leg drop over the edge. That's basically it. You notice the ankle is relaxed. For the actual descending, you're still standing tall, you're balanced, you're using the eye scan for the steps below, your leg hangs over the edge, and then you're bending the knee of the standing leg, and you're touching down gently with the toes of the forward leg. You're shifting weight onto that foot and repeating it on the other side. By the way, if you have questions, put them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. Descending hills is similar, but here you can see descending hills, it's a heel lead. Descending stairs, it's a toe lead. You don't have to think about this. The body does it naturally. So you're standing tall, balanced on the hill. You're scanning the hill below. You're lowering both hips slightly as if to sit down. And then you bend the knee of the standing leg and touch down with the heel of the forward leg. You're going to roll from the heel to the midfoot to the toe. And you'll continue downhill. Let's look at ascending stairs. You're staying lifted, you're leaning at a consistent angle, you're swinging the leg into place, you're stepping, the foot is coming straight down, and you're pressing upward. So here are the parts. Lift and lean forward with your torso lengthened. As you can see, everyone here is at a consistent lean. You don't want to go back and forward and back and forward. That's a lot of extra wear and tear on your joints. Stay consistent with that lean. You swing the back leg forward from the hip. You bring the forward foot into position directly under the knee. These people have moved forward a little bit more, but when they first approach, the knee is going to be over the foot. And then you press your foot firmly down, and essentially it's a quad press. It is a leg press. You're using your quads the way they are designed. You are not using your upper body to try to pull yourself up the hill. Your torso lean is consistent, and you continue up the stairs. Ascending hills, you see the same thing. You see a continuous lean. This is a slantward angle. There's no upper body effort. So you're lifting tall and scanning up the hill, leaning into plank position and maintaining it, swinging the back leg forward, touching the heel down and rolling to the toe. You're pushing off your back foot and rolling heel to toe. You continue uphill with shoulders relaxed, arms swinging at your sides. Now, if the hill is steep, this is a really important one. Oh, by the way, you can see that there's a lot of calf stretch here. So if you are especially going to take high heels, it's good to have calf stretch anyway, but you want to make sure that you have developed that stretch. Good. Now, let's get back to rolling at a slower pace. If the hill is steep, you still roll your way up the hill as a ball would roll up a hill. Let me see, let me get a ball here. Okay, if you can see, this ball can roll up the hill. In other words, I'm not doing this. I'm not lifting and lowering. I'm simply pushing off from behind, and it's rolling up the hill. It's a marvelous feeling. And it's really the best biomechanical use of all of your joints. If the hill is steep, then roll slower. Wait for your cardiovascular system to catch up. You'll feel that. And when it does, when your heartbeat catches up and your circulation is full to the rest of the body, you can continue, but it's still a very slow roll up the hill. As you can see, I can bring the ball up quickly, or I can still roll it up slowly. So why is it important to make these changes? These problems won't go away by themselves. And we tend to limit our activity and move less if we have pain. It's vital for you to safeguard your ability to walk lifelong. And there are many reasons for that. The benefits of walking include improved mood, circulation, brain power, creativity, and decreased risk of major diseases. You're strengthening your bones, managing your weight, improving all of your internal organ function, increasing your energy, and you have greater independence and freedom. This is, again, vital to live a happy, long, fulfilling life. So here's your homework and kind of your freebie. Watch our YouTube videos on stairs and hills to refresh the learning that you've had today. You'll see up and downhill made easy, and you'll even see up and down high, very steep hills made easy. It's the same role. My assistant has put a link in the chat. So if you go to the chat, you'll see a link to that. And you'll also see a client up and down stairs made easy. So it'll be nice to see a different person and her joy at discovering the ease of that. And I hope you will too. So that's what you can do. You can go to the Dynamic Vitality YouTube channel, up and down hills and stairs. You can work to build better posture and stride. And we'd love you to do that with us. You can do that with us by enrolling in dynamic walking. There are two programs that might be of interest to you. One is an evergreen program. You will do it on your own. I do warn you, it is very comprehensive material. It is the best program around in detail. And you might prefer to do it with me and with a small group of people. And it is through Zoom, but you have walks and coached walks on audio that you go out and do on your own. So it's kind of half-half. And that begins next Thursday. We're only doing one again next year. So I would suggest, if this is of interest to you, if you are committed to getting rid of joint pain through use of proper biomechanics, you consider taking the dynamic walking program, preferably with us, where I can watch you walk and make corrections right on screen, and you can watch other people. Just as it was interesting to watch that first hiker and see what we usually consider, oh, that's normal. Well, it is normal, but it's not natural. It's not the way the body was designed to work. So you want to discover that about yourself too. And you need another pair of eyes, and mine are good ones, helping you to see and discover, analyze your own stride. So we'd love to have you join us. And I want to thank you for joining today. And I wish you living and aging with dynamic vitality.